How many of you would like to own a home? How many of you would just be good with renting? Or how many of you would just say, nah, I'll just live in an old school bus? Whatever choice you make, I hope you are able to pursue and obtain your dream home. For some of us, it'll be easy. However, for many others, it will be incredibly challenging. And sadly, it may be challenging because of something neither you or I can control: our race. For many years now, both locally and nationally, minority groups have been denied reasonable mortgage rates on the grounds of their own heritage. For instance, over the past 50 years now, the difference in African American homeownership and white homeownership has drastically increased. Only 48.5% of African Americans are homeowners, as opposed to their white counterparts, where 63% are homeowners, a 14.5 percentage difference. And the worst of it is that there is no sign of the gap closing. This has detrimental effects to the African American community and also hinders our own society. Not only is homeownership socially perceived as a huge milestone that symbolizes maturity and adulthood, but the ownership of a home creates a more stable local, state, and national economy. With this all in mind, it is hard to believe that anyone would be opposed to letting people own their own homes, especially when it comes to the grounds of their own race. My dream one day is to become a military court lawyer and serve my country like my grandfather before me. But the fact that this is still occurring in the country that I wish to serve is nauseating. It's got to change. Our goal today is to further inform you about this problem and the proper solutions that we as a society need to do in order to fix it.
According to Shannon Porter, the director of the Mercy House Homeless Shelter, there's a lack of affordable housing. There's a decrease in affordable housing, which is a result of the increase in student housing in Harrisonburg for college students. Porter says that renting to students tends to be more appealing for landlords as they can rent by bedroom and multiply their income. According to Michael Wong, the executive director of the Harrisonburg Redevelopment and Housing Authority, since 2001, the median rent in Virginia has increased 21%, while the median income of renters has increased just by 6%, which leaves individuals and families in Harrisonburg struggling to afford housing more than ever before. A 2017 point in time count, which is a count of sheltered and unsheltered people experiencing homelessness on a single night in January, the Office of Housing and Urban Development found that there were more than 200 homeless persons in the Shenandoah Valley, which Harrisonburg is included in. It was discussed at a panel on March 29, 2018, that in a survey gathered by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, homeless individuals in the valley said the inability to pay rent and unemployment, along with lack of available housing, were major reasons for their homelessness.
The problem of racial inequality in housing is a complex one. However, local changes in Harrisonburg are possible to solve this problem. The local solution is an increased investment in affordable rental housing. One way this could look would be for JMU to increase on-campus residents. Since its days formerly known as Madison College, JMU's population has increased, but the university has not kept up with building adequate housing for students. From a JMU official report on the ecological impact of JMU on the Harrisonburg metropolitan area by the JMU Office of Institutional Research, JMU was the fastest growing four-year public institution in the Commonwealth from 1984 to 2014, with an 84% increase in enrollment from 1992 to 2014. As JMU grows, its residencies need more places to live. On the JMU official website, it states that the school only has housing for 35 to 40% of second-year students. So what does this mean for JMU and the Harrisonburg community? Simply, JMU students rise the rental rates of housing as they are willing to pay more for the off-campus experience, therefore increasing rental rates for locals. As rental prices increase, low-income locals cannot afford housing and experience racial discrimination in the places they do find, because those places may not be the most safe environments. Landlords are aware that low-income families are desperate for housing and usually seize the opportunity to take advantage of them. To solve this, the city of Harrisonburg should expand housing voucher availability. And on the next slide, you can see a demonstration of the housing availability. The Housing Choice Voucher is a federal government program that assists low-income or extremely low-income families to afford safe and sanitary housing. According to Habitat for Humanity's article on ways to advance racial equality in housing, these vouchers allow individuals and families to choose their choice of house and agree the terms of rent. From there, the housing subsidy is paid to the landlord from local or public housing agency. The family will then pay the difference between the actual cost charged by the landlord and the amount subsidized by the program. There are many positive outcomes to this situation. On the next slide, we will list these, and these include the housing project or program is administered locally through Harrisonburg and the county. It builds relationships with private landlords. The program is federally funded, so the agencies helping and paying are receiving funds to do this, and they are given these funds back by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And the tenant eligibility and their portion paid is solely based on income.
The issue of racial inequality in housing has been around for a long time, and our society has tried to combat this issue in a number of ways over the years, some of which we'll go over today. Unfortunately for us, if there were a fix-all solution, we would have found it by now. Our only course of action for the foreseeable future until racial inequality is resolved is to stay the course and continue aiding members of protected classes in the housing process. Protected classes being people aided by the Fair Housing Act based on race or income. Back in 2010, we were aware of this issue, and here are some of their proposed solutions to problems that they faced in the 2010 Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice document. First problem they found was that there was limited English proficiency in these protected classes. So one of the solutions that they came up with was to translate the vital documents required for housing in order to make it more transparent. Another problem they faced was that protected classes are underrepresented on their city boards. So they hosted an annual civic engagement initiative where members of protected classes were encouraged to participate in government through applications. Basically, they would get more representation and they would have more say on deciding on this decisions. And the third problem they found was that members of the protected classes tend to experience higher rates of unemployment and have lower incomes, thereby encountering greater difficulty in securing affordable housing in Harrisonburg. What they did for this was they partnered with Harrisonburg Redevelopment and Housing Authority, the HRHA, for home ownership counseling and financial management education. They also assisted 5 home buyers annually with up to a $10,000 down payment on housing. Now, this was back in 2010, and these solutions haven't solved the problem. Not because they haven't helped, but rather because we need to do more. It is crucial that we continue these solutions proposed in 2010, or at least aid in a similar way. As I said, these solutions can't solve the problem by themselves. So here are some recommendations written last year to Governor Ralph Northam so that we can tackle racial inequality from all sides. In the 2020 Commission Report of Inequity and Inequality in Virginia's Laws, they recommended that we impose state limits on exclusionary zoning and localities. They said that the Virginia Commonwealth should require localities to have a certain percentage of affordable housing or enact other statutory or regulatory changes that allow lower income individuals to move into a locality. They also recommended that we require localities to donate vacant tax delinquent properties or property that has not had its property taxes paid to a local community land bank established for affordable housing. They want to move these properties back onto the market to be redeveloped. And this doesn't apply to families who can't afford rent, just properties that are sitting idly with absentee landlords or trapped in complex court cases. Now, these are just a few examples of solutions society has attempted, but the main takeaway here is this. The only way to solve racial inequality in housing is to continue aiding the members of protected classes. We must continue the solutions proposed in 2010. We must pursue these recommendations to the governor, and we cannot stop until the problem is resolved once and for all.
I remember when I first heard of this problem, and I thought to myself that there was no way that a problem of this magnitude, of this importance, would go unsolved, or at the very least, that there would be a discussion of this in the Capitol building. However, there is little to no talk about this issue, sadly. Even though proper legislation has been passed to prevent such discrimination, it is still a problem that persists in American society. It is time that we it is time that we stopped this blatant disregard of the Fair Housing Act of 1968 and push for easier access to affordable rental housing by expanding vouchers, as well as continuing to aid protected classes in the housing process. We cannot be blind to this problem any longer because everyone deserves a home. And we cannot claim to be a country of equal opportunity if this problem persists. Let's be a country of equal opportunity. Thank you.